Yo, what's going on, guys? Have a good Glade here. Welcome back to another video. Now, in today's video, we are going to be analyzing why Rinya Sun, otherwise known as Standard Zacian Groudon Sun, is so good in this metagame. Before we get into it, smash that like button and subscribe for more VGC content. So, I actually made this video a while ago, but I didn't have ad blocker installed, and I kept getting ads that showed my location. So we're redoing this, and hopefully I'll be able to add some better thoughts than I was able to add the first time, and make myself, I guess, more clear. Another thing I want to add before getting into this is New Jersey Regionals signups already happened. And I was not able to get in because they decided to place it was like 120 or 140 player cap limit for the VGC for New Jersey Regionals, even though despite New Jersey being pretty much the biggest hotbed proportionate to the population in the entire United States, and all US regionals have had around 160 players thus far. So I don't know why they put 140 player cap limit, because our hotel was already booked. So I will still be going to New Jersey Regionals most likely, but I will not be probably playing unless they decide to extend the registration, extend how many people can play. So I will be there. I just probably will not be playing. I will be, I don't know, can you gamble when you're 18? I don't know. Well, unless that's Siri. Hey Siri. Hold on. Hey Siri. What is the legal gambling age in New Jersey? A person must be at least
gambling age in New Jersey. Check it out.
The legal New Jersey gambling age for casinos is set at 21. No! Come on. All right. Anyways, so I can't gamble, unfortunately. According to Wikipedia, at least. So I will just be chilling, having some fun there. But I did not get in. So Top Cut Events, who host New Jersey Regionals, please add more spots. Seriously, I don't know why you didn't add more. It actually frustrates me. But yeah, with that out of the way, I will be in New Jersey Regionals. So God bless, right? So we'll see if I can get it. Anyways, today we are talking about Rinya Sun. Now, if you don't know what Rinya Sun is, I'll explain this, but it's Zacian, Groudon, Gastrodon, Grimmsnarl, and Incineroar, and Charizard. Pretty much the most popular team that's been running around and has been doing very well at many high-level events. And I wanted to give you guys a kind of a rundown of how it started, and kind of how it's evolved, or not evolved, but like how it's won all these tournaments, and ways that you could potentially counter and beat it, because it's still very popular. Alright, I have a bunch of different tabs pulled up of all of the different major tournaments that happened. So we obviously have the 3 Victory Road tournaments, and then the 3 regionals that happened. So Salt Lake City, Liverpool, and Taichung. I'm not counting Brisbane, because Brisbane had 62 players, and that's really not a lot. So, I mean, yeah, Calyrex Ice Palkia won that. But we're going to go into what happened in these tournaments and kind of analyze how Zacian Groudon kind of evolved. So first off, I want to start off with the results from the the Victory Road Series 12 Challenge, which happened, what does it say? It happened the 15th through 16th of January, so very early on into the format. Okay, ad blocker. Okay, ad blocker. Happened very early on into the format, right? It had 501 players, so a very large tournament. I think the largest Victory Road tournament to date, at least for Series 12. And it was won by Zacian Palkia. And we didn't really see a lot of Groudon Zacian. I mean, if you look at Groudon Zacian, it appears at number 8, but you see it's very Sun-oriented. You see the Regieleki, you see the Rotom Heat, and the Venusaur. So definitely not the Charizard and the Gastrodon, the Grimmsnarl that we normally see with those Rinya Sun teams. So very focused on Sun. Matty Morgan, running, but that's Lunaludon. Now we look down further. We see, here we go, here's this team, and this team looks pretty standard, honestly. You have the Grimmsnarl, you have the Instant, it has Thundurus on it, but Thundurus is still pretty good on Sun, and it has the Venusaur, so I'd say that was someone being a more standard-ish like Zashdon team at the time. I think they had a Kanade, they had a pretty solid team. Obviously Venusaur is there for the Sun mode, and then number 19, who's that kid? I don't know who that kid is, but he's the GOAT. What else can I say? But I was running a very kind of off meta Zacian Groudon team because I ran Ferrothorn to counter Rain, and I'll talk about why Zashdon like wasn't very good into Rain to begin with, or like Zashdon was a bit iffy into Rain. So we'll talk about my team in a little bit, but you can see there's not many Zashdon running around, and honestly, if you're looking at this tournament, and if I were to tell you what's the beginning stages of the beginning stages of Rinya Sun, it wouldn't be the Zashdon teams. It would specifically be, in my opinion, see, I don't know for a fact if Rinya, the Japanese player behind Rinya Sun, took inspiration from Kyle Geffner's or North's team, but I would say that it's certainly a possibility. If you look at Kyle's team, it is Calyrex Shadow, Groudon, Incineroar, Gastrodon, Thundurus, and Charizard. Now we can go for the pace of this team, and obviously a bit different, certainly a bit different. However, you see that it has the Gastrodon and it has the Gastrodon, and Gastrodon, I think people realized, was really good on Groudon Sun because Kyogre, if you positioned incorrectly with Groudon Sun, could completely decimate you. Because Venusaur, yeah, was sort of a Kyogre check in the beginning, but then when Venusaur started to run more bulky, like AV oriented sets, and then with like screens on top of that, it wasn't that great. Because now, you know, Ogre teams have screens, they might have AV Ogre, and so your Vine Lash is not doing that much to Kyogre when it's Dynamax, and then they Hailstorm you for like over half, and it's not that great, especially when Zacian, when they can override your weather, and then Zacian just B-Blades you. So Venusaur wasn't really that great of an answer, so I like the more defensive approach, understanding that Gastrodon is incredible to the matchup, or basically, no, it is integral to the matchup, because you just need it. Alright, we're just gonna have the ad block thing on, because like every time I click, okay, no, there it went away. But Gastrodon was huge into the matchup, and so when players figured out that Gastrodon was really good, I think that's when the idea of Rinya Sun kind of started to form, because then they realized, okay, well, if I put a Gastrodon here, that's really good, but I also want a little bit more bulk, so maybe let's replace the Thundurus with a Grimmsnarl to add that extra bulk, and then the speed control with the Thunder Wave, and then let's get rid of the Calyrex. I would just want Zacian here for the damage output, and that's standard Rinya Sun. So I think they took the idea of North's team and evolved that into a Zacian Groudon team. If you look at the Zacian Groudon teams here, this team outside of Venusaur, if you don't position correctly for Kyogre, you get fucked. And I guess Regieleki also helps, so I'd say Hiruto probably has the best Zacian Groudon team. My Zacian Groudon, even though Hiruto went 7-2 and I went 8-1, I think his team is better overall. My team was made for the meta, but it required a lot of predictions, and so I don't really know if I'd say my team was super good, and now it's certainly not that good. But yeah, Nabjit, Joshi, he still pretty standard team, like what North ran. But this team over here, like, yeah, you have the Venusaur and you have the Regieleki. I just don't think it is. Oh no, this is a Yvelon, but I don't think it's as solid as it could be, because you're really relying on Sun. And Venusaur was really good early meta, but then it just fell off later games, especially when like Grimmsnarl with speed control became such a viable option. And like the thing with Venusaur is, like, yes, it gets the tick over time, which is like, or the damage, it can set up dot damage over time, but it also actually does decent damage when there's not screens up. But when there's screens up, it's kind of like even with screens up, like something like Charizard does a lot more damage with the Wildfire, and so it's just better. I guess Airstream Boost, it matches up better into something like Zacian, you know what I mean? Venusaur does not do those things. Yeah, it kind of helps into the Ogre a little bit, but yeah, you still have to be mindful of the Max Hailstorm and the Max Strike, so it's just not, it's not as good as it could be. So we're going to move on to the February challenge, which happened, well, obviously in February, and I forget when the first regional happened. We'll take a look at Salt Lake City regional then. But the February challenge did 328 players. That's where I was more, but it was won by Swordfish. Okay, so Swordfish was won. So Joseph Ugarte, really good player. I'm not surprised he was able to get first. I mean, if you just look at the team, it's a super solid team. You see, obviously, the Grimmsnarl for the support, Rillaboom, Life Orb Zapdos, stuff like that, right? But Ren Chenfu was able to get second with Zacian, Groudon, Incineroar, Gastrodon, Thundurus, and Charizard. Now, that is not Rinya Sun because it has Charizard it has Thundurus over the Grimmsnarl. However, you're starting to see it form. People are starting to realize that Groudon plus Gastrodon plus Zacian is a good combo. And you're seeing here right now, actually Juan was running Rinya Sun here with Groudon, Zacian, Gastrodon. Because think about it. Groudon is really, really good, but one of the things that's really stopping it is Kyogre. But if you slap a Gastrodon on there and you can just yawn, Kyogre loves to Dynamax in those matchups versus Groudon. But if you just yawn it, because you can eat whatever hit it has, because, you know, Max Strike and Max Hailstorm, we're going to be doing a good amount, but nothing crazy to OHKO you, right? So you can then yawn it, and then render it useless. Then you can, like, protect stall it out. So Gastrodon basically makes Kyogre have to think twice about Dynamaxing, because then Water type moves become single target, and then you're still giving Gastrodon special attack boost with, like, Water Spout. So it really just slows down the progress of Kyogre Zacian teams. I mean, yes, it can be played around, granted, with like Life Orb Zapdos and a Rillaboom, stuff like that. I get that, but Gastrodon provides it's integral to the team in order for it to have a better matchup into Sun or into Rain. And if you look at my team, now granted, I played 3 Sun teams. I played 3 Rain Swordfish teams during Swiss, and I won every single time against them because of Ferrothorn. Because Ferrothorn was my one switch in, and I used it as a Dynamax option. It was a definitely more bulky Dynamax option, could resist the Zacian hits, could resist Beyblade, and if they went to Sacred Sword, I was Chople Berry. So it was a better switch. Now, if I have something like Venusaur, it doesn't eat Water type moves as well because I'm not as bulky. It gets decimated by Behemoth Blade, so you can see how the matchup would be bad. But let's say if I had Venusaur over Ferrothorn, I probably would have lost those Swordfish matchups. But let's say I had a Gastrodon. Gastrodon's really good. It can really put a hindrance on Kyogre. It can really put a hindrance on Zacian. Like, it's just so much better. And you see these Zacian Groudon teams, like that team did really well. But these Groudon teams, like, I think what they're missing is a dedicated way, if you don't position correctly, a dedicated way to deal with Kyogre. And I get the whole idea of, like, you know, Rain and Sun. The Weather Wars is you're supposed to position correctly, but I think if you don't position correctly with the Sun team, there's little coming back. And so what I think Gastrodon allows you to do is it allows you to have some way of clawing back, some way of gaining positioning, and some way of disrupting the opponent. That's what Gastrodon's purpose was for the team. Alright, so when we look here, it did very well, and now you're starting to see more players use it. You're starting to see Juan use it. I mean, Juan used it, Luca, he used it, but he used Calyrex Groudon. But you're seeing Cyan, he used it, Chris, he used it. So you're really starting to see, in February, it's being used now. And I think that's because Rinya used the team in the International Challenge of February, and he did extremely, extremely well with it. I think that was around the February 15th. People took notice, people started picking up the team and using it themselves. So we gave it like around a week or 2 for the team to be in circulation and for the archetype to be almost fully realized, and you're starting to see really good results with it. And obviously, if I didn't talk about the other members, Charizard is one of the best Dynamax options for Sun. Obviously, you can set up the dot, is extremely threatening, and the fact that it resists Beyblade is amazing. So it's a really good Dynamax option, can put out so much offensive pressure. I don't really need to explain that much about it. I think it's just extremely good. There's so many viable options you can run. You can run Walkin' Berry for Thundurus. You can run Charty Berry for opposing Charizard. If you're scared of them going for like H-Power, or you can run Charty Berry for the Groudon. You can run Life Orb if you just want extra damage output, or you can run Choice Scarf if you want to be able to outspeed something like a Calyrex or a Zacian outside of Dynamax. So there's so many options you can run for Charizard, and people are still trying to figure that out. But yeah, this happens April 10th, so we're not going to go over that right now. But Liverpool Regionals happens how many days later? About a month after. February. Yeah, about a month after, right? And there's a lot of meta developments. This happens in the UK. Bruh. Whatever. This happens in the UK. And a lot of things have changed. Okay, ad block. A lot of things have changed. Obviously, the meta has developed. People have started to play with Rinya Sun more. People are expecting it. And what do you know? Eric Rios takes. Oh wait, no. This. Hold on. The first regional is Salt Lake City. Excuse me. Salt Lake City happens a little bit less than a month, probably like 3 weeks later, and has 163 masters. And Peng Chongjun wins with Rinya Sun. So not only does Rinya Sun pop off and win the first regional 2022, it pops off, gets third place as well under Joseph Ugarte. And Joseph Ugarte got very unlucky, so he would have made finals as well. So you have to understand, Rinya Sun would have made finals twice. It would have been a mirror match in finals. That just shows how good it is under a really good player. And now you're starting to see the completed form. People are not running Thundurus. People are now running Grimmsnarl because they realize Grimmsnarl for screened is extremely important. Being able to get screened, so your Groudon lives more hits, your Zacian lives more hits, especially Gastrodon. Gastrodon being the part where it can disrupt a lot of the opponents, so you want that thing to stay on the field as long as possible. And Grimmsnarl can use Thunder Wave and Scary Face for speed control, because if you can use speed control for something like a Charizard or a Zacian, your damage output is amazing. And then late game, potentially you could outspeed with something like a Groudon. And now we're looking at the team, and we're seeing Groudon is now running AV. And one of the important things I want to note is AV Groudon completely changes the entire metagame. So before AV Groudon, Sun teams still had a bit of a tricky time against Kyogre, because even if you Dynamax Groudon and get the Quake boost, Water Spout's gonna still be doing a lot because it's a Kyogre Water Spout. Like, there's just no getting around that. Dynamax, yeah, it's gonna help you a little bit, but you're still dying. Or you're not dying, but you're still taking a lot of damage. But what Groudon with AV decided to do was basically say, I have more coverage now because now I have Steel and Fire coverage. So Fire coverage, if you want to be if you want a guaranteed land onto something like a Zacian or an Amoonguss, right? Heavy Slam for Steel Spike, getting those boosts. But now you're saying I'm more specially bulky, so Kyogre can't KO me in like 2 hits with Water Spout. You know, and that completely changes the entire part of the matchup, because now no longer are you thinking, oh shoot, I have to be really careful of my Groudon because, you know, it might not be able to take a certain hit from Kyogre. Now you're more bulky, so as long as you Dynamax and you get in under the sun and you start getting those Quake boosts, you're going to be pretty bulky. And sure, you won't take Kyogre's hits extremely well, but you'll definitely take it a lot better than previously. So that Assault Vest completely changed how Groudon functioned. Now you can't protect, there's no SD, so it does change things a little bit, and it does change some scenarios, because now opponents are like, Groudon are most likely AV, so I can just double up into it. That does change things, but if you double up into it, you still have stuff like Grimmsnarl and Incineroar to support it. So you see where they changed. Basically, they changed how Sun played. They went from Groudon being like a Citrus Berry or a White Herb, a Swords Dance set, just thinking, okay, if I have additional bulk for something like a Zacian, or for some, additional bulk for something like a Kyogre, or any special attacker like a Calyrex, and I start getting those boosts, and I support it well, it should be really good. And I think that's understandable. This team is just made to support each other really, really well. I think just what people took from this team as a start and then innovated on it is fantastic, because now we're starting to see AV. AV was such a great adaptation. Incineroar being Shuck Berry, I think Shuck Berry and Incineroar is standard. I think being able to get that positioning and cycling Incineroar back in, after taking Play Rough is very, very important. Charizard being Charty Berry, it's another thing I talked about. It's kind of a meta adaptation. When Salt Lake City Regionals happened, Ancient Power Charizard was really in circulation, and a lot of players were using Ancient Power Charizard to counter other Charizards. So, Ping decided, okay, well, if I run Charting Bird, then I can counter the Charizards that are trying to counter other Charizards by running Ancient Power. And so that was a really nice tech for this specific tournament. Joseph Ugarte decided to run Life Orb, so some players decide, oh, I want extra damage. Some other players are like, I'll just take, what's it called? I just want to be able to survive this attack, right? And so it got first and third, and it was able to get 17th, although it was a bit more of an unconventional team. Ferrothorn did come into play here. Ferrothorn was the standard Body Press, Leech Seed, Iron Defense set, which is the incorrect set. You should always be running Power Whip, Gyro Ball, Body Press, in my opinion. However, he does have Solar Beam and Energy Ball, so I think that's not a concern. But you're seeing, yeah, this was the standard Groudon. The standard Groudon was P-Blades, Rock Size, Swords Dance, Protect with like Citrus, White Herb, what were the other items? Citrus, White Herb, and like, I forgot, there were some other items. But yeah, they completely changed it on his head and went from being like a Sword Stance Protect mon to just an AV mon to get that extra bulk. Because your two Dynamax options are Groudon and Charizard. Now, you can Dynamax Gastrodon, although I don't think it's the best option. But it can be a niche option, but I think into some like Sun teams, or into Rain, I think you want to Dynamax Groudon a lot of the time. So adding that extra bulk is integral for the Dynamax option. And then obviously Brock Honda able to get 24th, and then we're seeing some more Zashdon here. And then we see 5-3 from Brede Colette using it. So we're starting to see it pop up a lot. And so that was March 20th. Now we're on to March 27th in Liverpool, and it was able to win again, dude. It was able to win the second regional in a row within a week. It is insane. And we're seeing second place. So, first place, Rinya Sun. Second place is Swordfish. Variations of Swordfish, obviously with Shedinja, but still insane teams. And, I mean, the meta changed up a little bit. Chef was able just to run he ran some crazy stuff. I love it. Also, look at how many reports we have. Like, this is fantastic. We've had so many reports for tournaments recently, and I'm really excited. But you've seen it won a regional under AR Grios. Standard team, I'm not going to talk too much about it. It got 7th. It was able to get 7th, 13, and we're going to go down through 21st. I'm gonna keep going down through. Alright, I'm curious, what did Lee run? Okay, Lee's team is pretty cool. But yeah, it's able to occupy those top spots because I think people that piloted realize that it's like the meta call, and then they're able to do well with it. Now, we're going to shift forward to April 9th. This is the third regional, and it won again, dude. It won again, bro. So, Zacian Groudon has taken all three regionals. All three regional titles. It has won all three regionals. And I think it's pretty much the same team. Now, probably different sets, because that's Lumberry, that's running Shadow Claw, Rock Tomb, this is running Trick, this is running Throat Chop. So different sets, same 6 mons win each regional, man. Same 6, same 6. Also, cringe because he used pink Gastrodon when you should use blue Gastrodon. But literally the same 6 Pokemon, just different sets. But you're seeing this is like the perfect chef's kiss big 6. Like, this is kind of an unrivaled duo. They have optimized Zacian and Groudon. Now, in the beginning of series season 12, I was thinking to myself, I think Zacian and Groudon is going to be extremely good. I just was not the one to correctly optimize it. I mean, I did well in a single tournament, but months and months of optimization and practice led up to this point where it's just been hyper optimized, and I think that is almost as good as the team gets. I think the only optimization you will get is people optimizing the EV spreads and the move sets for specific points in the metagame. I think these 6 will stay tried and true as just the best combo out there, because really, like, this team that I talked about is such a good standard 6 that can cover for basically everything in the metagame. The only trouble I can potentially see it having is versus Calyrex Ice Rider, Palkia. However, AV Groudon with Steel Spike, so you can Steel Spike you know, stuff like that. But even then, you have Gastrodon for Yawn, you have Grimmsnarl for like support. You can outstall, you can probably stall out Trick Room, get Zacian in, and you'll be fine. That's the only matchup that I think is kind of poo-poo, right? Kind of crap. So that's a poo. I'm such a child. Yeah, so like Calyrex Ice is good, but see, Zacian was able to beat this. Now I didn't catch the final, so I'm going to probably have to watch that again. I want to see how this team beat this team and how this team fared against the Calyrex Ice Rider, because I won against this, so that's really intriguing to me. But like, it's just so dominant. So how can you beat this? Rinya Sun is one of those things where you have to play carefully around it. You can't go in with full offense for the most case because they have so many options to slow you down, like Gastrodon, Grimmsnarl, and Incineroar. I think it just requires correct positioning and playing well. I think there are some teams that have better matchups into it. Like, I would consider Calyrex Ice Rider Palkia to have a pretty good matchup to this. And if you play Swordfish really well, you'll be able to beat this, right? If you play it extremely well, you'll be able to beat it. And if you run other Zashdon teams and you like use Charizard effectively, or like with speed tie, stuff like that, you'll be able to win. However, I don't have a super solid way to tell you like how to beat this, because I've not been playing much recently, and I don't want to give false ideas of, oh, I know what I'm talking about, because honestly, I really don't. I'm just kind of analyzing and going over why I think this archetype is good, and because I've seen Zashdon evolve throughout the months. I've seen it, so I just wanted to give my thoughts on that. If you guys have any ideas of how you can beat this, I mean, it is beatable. Like, this is not the big. I don't think this is the big six. I think there are ways to beat it. In fact, I forgot to mention this tournament, Frankfurt, Road to Frankfurt, which happened April 9th and 10th. Calyrex Shadow Rider was able to get first, so it's definitely beatable. And Zacian Groudon was second and fifth and eighth and ninth. However, there are ways to beat it. Calyrex Shadow Rider popped up in this tournament and did well. I think it was in response to the Groudon. Weezing was also very good here. So, like, Weezing, it shuts down the Sun, right? And you can go Weezing Gigas, and that kind of obliterates this team for the most part. So, like, there are ways around it. So I'm not going to say it's impossible to beat. I just think it was a very good team. And if played well, it can stand up to anything in the metagame. Although there are some people that are trying to prove that matchup by going like Calyrex Shadow Rider. I think Calyrex Shadow Rider is one of the teams where it's going to be popping up more, and people are going to be testing, because I think it has a good matchup in the Groudon Zacian. Because honestly, when I play Groudon Zacian, when I play my team, which I will show again. Hold on. Here we go. Where am I? Here I am. When I played my team had a terrible matchup versus Calyrex Shadow Rider, because I was not AV Thunderous. I was Safety Goggles. And the matchup would be really difficult to play, and it would probably be like a 30-70 matchup where I would easily get steamrolled and overpowered most of the time. And so I think people are realizing that Calyrex Shadow Rider is pretty good into this Groudon matchup. Now, because most Groudon are AV, that's a bit tricky, but it's still, you can still work around it quite well. And because you have something like, people are now using Rillaboom and Blastoise, Blastoise for the dot is really good. I just think that team performs really well. And obviously the Weezing team is really interesting. Weezing is more anti-meta. I have not seen that modded a bit, but I think it makes sense because you pretty much completely shut down this team. You turn off ability, so Gastrodon doesn't have Storm Dream anymore. Cool. You know what I mean? Like, cool. You can just do so many things with that team. This team has so much potential, right? So many options you can take. So I don't think Big Six is unbeatable. I just think that it will continue to do well when piloted, and I think people are going to continue to build and try to counter it. And I think Calyrex Shadow Rider is one of those teams, and I think Swordfish does have a bit more optimization to go through. But it's really hard because, you know, obviously Swordfish, you're going to want a grass type to beat Gastrodon, but grass types aren't very good when they have something like Max Flare Groudon. So, and the Zacian and stuff like that. So I think the matchup, like Swordfish versus Rinya Sun, has always been really interesting because it really relies on positioning and predictions and whatnot. So I don't think that's the way going forward to use Swordfish to try to beat this, just because it really relies on predictions and gaining favors. Although I do think a really good Swordfish team is like Cotton Spore, Tailwind, Energy Ball, Whimsicott, with something like Entei. That could actually be really good into this team, because then you have like Stone Edge, Entei, and like Sacred Fire. So that could be another option. But Calyrex Shadow Rider looks really good into that. Yveltal, I don't expect Yveltal to pop up. I just like I was testing Yveltal. Yveltal's just not that good. I actually kind of want to use Zekrom. Zekrom could be fun, but the team I'm probably going to use is a Lunadon team. However, I think overall, oh my god, someone went 8-1 with fucking Ho-Oh. That team looks scary. Like, I would actually not want to face that team. Like, that team as a Zacian player looks so fucking terrifying, because you know that pulled his Will-O-Wisp. Like Life or Will-O-Wisp, unfortunately. But yeah, that team looks horrifying to face. But yeah, like, I think there are ways to beat Zacian Groudon, but people are going to still have to optimize like their gameplay versus it. But I think it's still very, very good, and you should still be prepared to face it. I give you some ideas. I think, and theoretically, Calyrex Ice Rider Palkia should be good into that. Now, I haven't tested it, so I don't know. It did lose in the finals in Taiwan, but I think theoretically it should be good. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Also, happy Easter to everyone, because I'm recording this on Easter Day. And I'm probably going to end it off there. Oh, yeah. Before I do, Rinya. This is the actual player. So, Rinya Sun, Rinya Kobayashi. We're going to go to their Twitter profile. Yeah, here we go. So they are using, this is their Twitter if you want to go check them out. But they got 9th with their standard Zacian Groudon team that they created, the Rinya Sun team. So they were able to get 9th in this tournament, going 8-1. So what a goat. But yeah, I give you some ideas on how to counter Zacian Calyrex. I think I give a more in-depth than last time. I was kind of giving more vague answers last time, so I hope I was able to give a little bit more definitive answers on ways that you can beat it. I think it just comes down to basically analyze the shifts in the metagame very closely. If you see more Calyrex Shadow Rider teams, take an interest. You know, maybe practice with some Calyrex Shadow Rider teams. I think that's a really good idea of understanding, can this beat Zacian Groudon? And I think it can, because it won against it in finals. But even something like Carlos's team, or Crazy Mix, that team is really creative, and I think it has the ability to definitely just demolish Zacian Groudon, in my opinion. So experiment. I don't think Yveltal will be that good, but like Calyrex Ice Rider Palkia, I think that's good. Now, if you use something like a Whimsicott, Cotton Spore, Energy Ball, Tailwind, Kyogre team with Entei, I think that could also be really good. So some options to beat it. But overall, this video was analyzing the how good Rinya Sun is, and how to evolve throughout, and how I've seen it. How I've seen it sprout up, change, and evolve. And I kind of wanted to put this out there because I really think this video is important to understand where this team came from, and going forward, how you can counter this team. Because I kind of give a step-by-step process of, why they added this Pokemon, what this Pokemon's purpose is. And I think by understanding how this team functions and how it operates, you can get a good understanding of how do I counter. And I gave some examples of spring things that should be able to counter it. So I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, smash the like button down below. I'm going to go probably render and upload this, and I also have to get ready to leave for my grandparents soon because it's Easter. Also, comment below, a question of the day: what chocolate is your favorite, dude? I have a Cadbury egg right now, Cadbury cream egg. These things, so freaking good. So what's your favorite chocolate for Easter? Anyways, I will see you all later. I'm Everglade. And peace out, guys.